I never thought Mom's cancer diagnosis would change everything about our family. Not just her health, our entire dynamic, the truth of who we were beneath the surface. The day I got the call, I was sitting in my office, staring at quarterly budget spreadsheets that suddenly meant nothing. The tests came back. "It's stage 3, Mom said, her voice surprisingly steady. "I need surgery." I closed my laptop immediately. "I'm coming over." That was 6 months ago. 6 months that taught me more about my family than the 38 years before it. 6 months that drained my bank accounts, my energy, and nearly my hope, but showed me exactly who everyone truly was. My sister Elaine lived just 20 minutes from Mom, while I had moved 3 hours away for a marketing director position with a tech company. Dad had passed 5 years earlier after a brief but brutal battle with heart disease, and since then, Mom had maintained her independence in the family home, with weekend visits from both of us keeping her connected. At least, that's what I believed was happening. When I arrived at Mom's house that evening after the diagnosis call, Elaine was already there, sitting at the kitchen table. Her designer handbag rested on the counter, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against her phone screen. She barely looked up when I walked in, her face pale but composed. "It's going to cost a fortune," she said before I even sat down. "The insurance only covers part of it." I nodded, already pulling up my banking app. "How much are we looking at?" Mom slid a paper across the table, her hand trembling slightly despite her calm exterior. The number at the bottom of the page made my stomach drop. $87,000 for the surgery and follow-up treatments, after insurance. "I've been putting away for retirement," Mom said softly. "But using that would leave me with nothing when I recover." I looked at Elaine, expecting us to split it somehow. She met my eyes for a brief moment and then looked away, suddenly fascinated by a family photo on the wall. "James, you know I can't," she said, her voice practiced in the art of regretful refusal. "The kids' college funds, the new house payments, Tom's business is just getting off the ground." I understood her situation. Elaine had 3 children, a mortgage on a house much larger than she needed, and her husband Tom had recently started a new business venture that was consuming their finances. But the understanding didn't ease the weight that settled on my shoulders as I realized what would happen next. "I'll handle it," I said finally. "All of it." The relief on both their faces was instant. Mom reached across the table and squeezed my hand, her eyes filling with tears. "I'll pay you back somehow, someday." Elaine stood up, already gathering her things. "That's so good of you, James. I knew you'd come through. Your job pays so well, and you don't have the expenses we do." She kissed Mom on the cheek. "I need to get back to the kids. Call me if anything changes." And just like that, she was gone, leaving behind the faint scent of her expensive perfume and the unspoken burden of our mother's care resting entirely on my shoulders. The surgery was scheduled for the following month. I took a leave of absence from work, unpaid of course, and moved back into my childhood bedroom to care for Mom through her pre-surgical treatments and preparation. I expected Elaine to help with the daily care at least on weekends or evenings, but life has a way of showing you who people really are when crisis strikes. "I can't be around sick people," Elaine told me over the phone, her voice breaking in what sounded like rehearsed emotion. "It triggers my anxiety, and the kids shouldn't see their grandmother like this. It would traumatize them." So I became everything: nurse, cook, chauffeur, and personal accountant. Each morning, I'd help Mom with her medications, prepare her special diet meals that the nutritionist had recommended, drive her to appointments that seemed to multiply every week, and spend evenings going through medical bills that never seemed to end. I cashed out my 401k, paying the penalty for early withdrawal, emptied my savings account, and eventually maxed out 2 credit cards. The financial advisor at my company had warned against touching retirement funds, but what choice did I have? This was my mother's life. The day of the surgery arrived after weeks of preparation, tests, and mounting anxiety. I drove Mom to the hospital at 5 a.m., The road's empty, the sky still dark. She was quiet during the drive, her hands folded neatly in her lap. "Elaine will meet us there?" she asked as we approached the hospital. I swallowed hard. She's dropping the kids at school and then coming. The lie came easily now, after months of making excuses for my sister's absence. Mom nodded, seemingly satisfied. "She's so busy with the children. It's good she has you to help." The pre-surgical preparation was a blur of forms, questions, and medical staff coming and going. I signed every consent form, answered every question about family medical history, and stood beside Mom until the very last moment before they wheeled her away. "I love you," I said, leaning down to kiss her forehead. "I'll be right here when you wake up." "I know you will," she replied, squeezing my hand. "You always are." The surgery lasted 12 hours. 12 hours in the waiting room alone, alternating between pacing the worn carpet path and sitting with my head in my hands. I checked my phone periodically for a message from Elaine that never came. The hospital cafeteria became familiar territory as I made trips for coffee that grew increasingly bitter as the hours passed. When the doctor finally emerged, his surgical mask hanging around his neck and fatigue evident in his eyes, his face told me we had more battles ahead. "We got most of it," he said, his voice measured. "But the cancer was more invasive than the scan showed. We'll need aggressive follow-up treatment. More money, more time, more loneliness in this fight." I called Elaine from Mom's recovery room, speaking in hushed tones while Mom slept, monitored by machines that beeped in rhythmic reassurance that she was still with us. "The surgery wasn't completely successful," I explained. "She's going to need chemotherapy, possibly radiation." "Oh, that's terrible," Elaine replied, the sound of a television game show audible in the background. "How much more will it cost?" Not, "How is she feeling?" or "When can I see her?" but, "How much more will it cost?" knowing full well she wouldn't be contributing. "I don't know yet," I answered truthfully. "We'll find out more tomorrow." "Well, keep me posted. The kids have a recital this weekend, so I won't be able to visit until maybe next week." A pause. "You're doing great, James. Mom is so lucky to have you." Lucky, as if my presence, my care, my financial sacrifice was some random good fortune rather than a deliberate choice to show up when it mattered. The recovery was brutal. Mom couldn't walk without help for weeks. I bathed her, helped her use the bathroom, changed dressings on incisions that made my stomach turn. I learned to administer injections, to recognize the signs of infection, to manage pain medications so she was comfortable but not overly sedated. I slept on the floor beside her bed when she was afraid, which was most nights at the beginning. I held her hair back when she vomited from the chemo treatments, wiped her tears when she looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the gaunt face staring back at her. I learned to cook foods that wouldn't aggravate her sensitive stomach and became an expert at finding ways to disguise nutritional supplements in smoothies and soups. Elaine visited twice during those 3 months. Both times she brought the children, stayed for exactly 1 hour, and left with some excuse about soccer practice or piano lessons. She brought flowers the first time, an expensive arrangement that made Mom sneeze and had to be moved to the entryway. The second time, she brought a casserole that contained ingredients Mom couldn't eat on her restricted diet. Each time, Mom would brighten at seeing her grandchildren, then collapse into exhaustion after they left. But she never complained about Elaine's absence. Instead, she'd squeeze my hand and say, "Thank God for you, James. I don't know what I'd do without you." On particularly bad nights, when pain kept Mom awake, we'd talk for hours. About Dad, about my childhood, about her hopes and regrets. "I wasn't always fair to you," she admitted one night, the medication making her unusually candid. "Elaine needed more attention as a child, and you were so independent. I leaned on that too much." I swallowed hard. "It's okay, Mom." "No, it's not," she insisted, her voice stronger than it had been in days. I want you to know I see it now. Sometimes we don't appreciate the quiet strength until it's the only thing holding us up. The night nurse arrived to check Mom's vitals, and I stepped into the hallway to give them privacy. I found myself staring at a family photo in the hallway. Mom, Dad, Elaine, and me at Elaine's college graduation. I was in the background, slightly out of focus, while Elaine stood front and center in her cap and gown. I'd flown in from my own finals to attend, then flown right back afterward. No one had attended my graduation the following year. There had always been a reason. By the 6-month mark, Mom was officially in remission. The doctors were cautiously optimistic, though they warned us about the importance of follow-up scans and appointments. I was emotionally and financially drained, but relieved. My savings were gone, my credit cards maxed out, my career potentially derailed, but Mom was alive. That's what mattered. When she insisted I go back to my life, I resisted at first. I can stay a few more weeks, I offered, just to make sure you're steady on your feet. No, she said firmly. You've put your life on hold long enough. I'm better now, and it's time for you to rebuild. The truth was, I needed to start rebuilding. My apartment had been sublet, my position at work filled by someone else. I had accepted a lower position at a smaller company that offered less pay, but allowed me to start immediately. I had to start over, but I didn't regret a single sacrifice. The day I packed my car to leave, Mom hugged me tighter than she had in years. I could feel every bone in her back, her body still frail from the treatments, but her grip was surprisingly strong. I've updated my will, she said suddenly, pulling back to look me in the eyes. After all this, it seemed important. I shook my head, embarrassed by the implication. Mom, that's not why I know, she interrupted, patting my cheek like she had when I was small. But a mother knows what's right. You'll understand someday. That was the last normal conversation we had. 3 weeks after I returned to my new, smaller apartment and my new, lower-paying job, I received a call from Elaine in the middle of the night. Mom had a stroke, she said, her voice high with panic. The neighbor found her when she didn't pick up her newspaper. They've taken her to Memorial. I drove through the night, pushing the speed limit, my heart pounding with fear and regret. Should I have stayed longer? Had the stress of her illness caused this? Would I make it in time? I didn't. By the time I reached the hospital, Mom had slipped into a coma. She never woke up. 2 days later, with both Elaine and me at her bedside, she took her last breath. The funeral was a blur of faces and empty condolences. I stood beside Elaine, both of us in black, accepting hugs from people who had never once offered to help during Mom's illness. She looked so well when I saw her last month, said Aunt Patricia, dabbing at dry eyes with a lace handkerchief. Such a shock. I bit my tongue. Aunt Patricia hadn't visited once during Mom's entire illness, though she lived just 40 minutes away. She'd sent a fruit basket once, most of which Mom couldn't eat due to her treatment restrictions. The will reading is tomorrow, Elaine whispered during the reception, picking at a plate of untouched food. Lawyer said it's important we both be there. Did Mom say anything to you? About arrangements? I thought about Mom's last words to me about the will. Nothing specific, I said, unwilling to share that private moment. Elaine nodded, her expression unreadable. I've already spoken with a realtor about the house. The market's good right now. We should be able to sell quickly and split whatever's left after her medical bills. I stared at her, unable to formulate a response that wouldn't reveal the depth of my anger. She was already planning to profit from Mom's death, assuming an equal split despite her complete absence during Mom's illness. But what had I expected? That Mom would disinherit her only daughter? That wouldn't have been like Mom at all. That night, alone in my hotel room, I finally broke down. 6 months of being strong, of pushing through, of handling everything. And now Mom was gone. I'd given everything. my savings, my career momentum, pieces of my soul, and still lost her. I sobbed until my throat was raw, until my eyes burned, until there was nothing left but hollow exhaustion. The unfairness crushed me until I couldn't breathe. I didn't cry for the inheritance. Money had never been why I stayed. I cried for the mother I'd finally connected with during her illness, for the understanding we'd reached too late, for the empty future stretching ahead without her gentle presence. Little did I know, the next day would reveal a truth about my mother and my family that would change everything forever. The law firm was one of those old buildings with dark wood paneling and the faint smell of leather and paper. The kind of place that had probably looked exactly the same for the past 50 years, where important family matters had been settled by generations of solemn men in expensive suits. I arrived 15 minutes early, parking my 10-year-old Honda beside Elaine's gleaming new SUV in the small private lot. Mr. Winters' secretary, a woman with kind eyes and silver-streaked hair, led me to a small waiting area. "He'll be ready for you all shortly," she said, offering me coffee that I declined. My stomach was already in knots. Elaine and her husband Tom walked in exactly on time, their steps synchronized like they'd practiced the entrance. She wore a black dress that looked newly purchased, her hair freshly colored and styled, designer sunglasses perched on her head, though the day was overcast. Tom wore a crisp charcoal suit, his expression professionally sympathetic. I was still wearing the only suit I owned, the one from the funeral, slightly wrinkled from being packed in my suitcase. "James?" She nodded, giving me a quick, perfunctory hug that didn't quite connect our bodies. "You look tired." "It's been a long 6 months," I replied, the understatement of the year hanging between us. "Yes, for all of us," she said, as if her experience of occasionally calling to check in was comparable to what I'd lived through. "I couldn't sleep last night, thinking about Mom." Before I could respond, Mr. Winters emerged from his office. He was exactly as I remembered from the few times I'd met him during Dad's estate planning years ago. Tall, thin, with wire-rimmed glasses, and a perpetual expression of measured solemnity. "Elaine James," he said, nodding to each of us. "And Tom, please follow me. The others are already here." Others? I hadn't expected anyone else. Mr. Winters led us down a hallway lined with law books, and into a conference room where several other people were already seated around a mahogany table that gleamed under soft lighting. I recognized Uncle Robert, Mom's brother who lived in Arizona and visited every couple of years, and Aunt Patricia with her trademark pearl necklace. There were also two of Mom's closest friends from church, Mrs. Bennett and Mrs. Clark, both dressed in appropriate black dresses with sensible shoes. Most surprising was our childhood neighbor, Mrs. Lopez, who had been like a second mother to us growing up, watching us after school when Mom worked late. "Thank you all for coming," Mr. Winters began once we were seated. Margaret was very specific about who should be present today. He opened a leather portfolio and put on reading glasses that perched on the end of his nose, the picture of an old-school attorney about to deliver important news. "This is the last will and testament of Margaret Eleanor Wilson, being of sound mind and body," he began, reading through the formal legal language that established the document's validity and Mom's mental competence at the time of signing. I stared at the dark grain of the conference table, barely listening to the preliminary statements. My mind was still stuck in that hospital waiting room, in the quiet nights holding Mom's hand, in all the moments that mattered more than whatever would be distributed today. I glanced at Elaine, who was sitting with perfect posture, her expression appropriately solemn, but with an undercurrent of anticipation. Tom had his hand on her knee under the table, a gesture that seemed more possessive than comforting. Margaret had specific instructions about the reading of this will. Mr. Winters continued, bringing my attention back to the present. She wanted me to read this letter first, before any distributions are detailed. He pulled out an envelope sealed with wax, so like Mom to be traditional, and carefully opened it. The paper inside looked like Mom's favorite stationery, the cream-colored kind with her monogram at the top. I recognized her handwriting immediately, the elegant cursive that had signed countless permission slips and birthday cards throughout my childhood. "To my family and dearest friends," Mr. Winters read. "If you're hearing this, then I've moved on to be with Richard, my beloved husband and the love of my life. Don't mourn me too deeply. We had a good run." A few sad chuckles around the room. That sounded exactly like Mom, practical to the end, always trying to ease others' discomfort. Life has a way of showing us who truly cares when times get difficult. My recent illness taught me that lesson clearly. Some stayed distant, while others sacrificed everything to be by my side. I felt Elaine shift uncomfortably beside me, her back straightening even more if that was possible. I've always believed that family means standing together through the worst storms, not just appearing when the sky is clear. With that in mind, I've made decisions about my estate that may surprise some of you, but which reflect the truth of where love and loyalty truly resided during my time of greatest need. The tension in the room thickened. Uncle Robert cleared his throat. Aunt Patricia adjusted her pearl necklace nervously. Mr. Winters continued reading, his voice steady and professional. "All that I possess, my house at 1472 Maple Street, my savings, my investments, and personal possessions, will go to the person who never left my side during my greatest time of need." My heart beat faster. I hadn't helped Mom for any reward, but her words echoed my own thoughts about who had actually been there for her. Still, I didn't allow myself to hope. Families rarely rewarded the right people, in my experience. "The one who demonstrated what family truly means," Mr. Winters continued, "is the person who deserves to carry forward the fruits of my life's work and Richard's legacy." I looked up and caught Elaine staring at me, her expression unreadable, but her eyes sharp. There was something predatory in her gaze, like a cat watching prey. Mr. Winters paused dramatically before continuing. "That person is Elaine Marie Wilson Thompson." The words hit me like a physical blow. I couldn't have heard correctly. Elaine? Who had visited twice in 6 months? Who had contributed nothing to Mom's care or medical expenses? Elaine never abandoned me emotionally. Mr. Winters continued reading Mom's letter. Even when circumstances kept her physically absent, her daily phone calls and unwavering emotional support sustained me through my darkest hours. Daily phone calls? What daily phone calls? I had been there, in the house, every single day. Mom's phone had rarely rung, and when it did, Elaine's conversations with her mother had lasted 5 minutes at most, usually ending with, "I have to go, the kids need me." While James provided practical assistance, Elaine provided the emotional connection that kept my spirits alive. For this reason, I leave her everything, with full confidence that she will honor my memory appropriately. I felt dizzy, like the room was tilting beneath me. This couldn't be happening. I had given up everything. My savings, my career, my apartment, my social life, to care for Mom. I had held her hand through chemo, cleaned her when she couldn't make it to the bathroom, spent countless nights sleeping on her bedroom floor when she was afraid to be alone. And Mom thought Elaine had been the one providing support? I looked at Elaine, who was now dabbing at the corners of her eyes with a tissue, her expression solemn and grateful. Tom had his arm around her, nodding as if this outcome was exactly what they had expected. Uncle Robert and Aunt Patricia were smiling approvingly. Mrs. Lopez, however, was staring at me with an expression of shock that probably mirrored my own. She knew. She had brought over home-cooked meals weekly during Mom's illness. She had seen me there day after day, while Elaine was nowhere to be found. "There are specific items listed for the rest of you," Mr. Winters continued, "which I'll detail in a moment. But first, there is an addendum to the will that Margaret instructed me to read immediately after this letter." He set down Mom's letter and picked up another document, this one on legal paper, rather than Mom's personal stationery. Addendum to the last will and testament of Margaret Eleanor Wilson, he read formally. Dated 2 weeks before my passing. 2 weeks before her passing. After I had returned to my new life. After our last conversation where she'd mentioned updating her will. The contents of the letter just read were written before my illness, at a time when perceptions and relationships stood differently. What follows represents my final wishes, recorded after experiencing the truth of who stood faithfully by my side. The air in the room changed. Elaine stopped dabbing at her dry eyes, her tissue frozen mid-motion. Tom's arm tightened around her shoulders. Mr. Winters adjusted his glasses and continued. While the previous letter states that my estate should go to the person who never left my side, I have come to understand that words and claims of support are not the same as actions and sacrifice. Now everyone was perfectly still, hanging on every word. Mrs. Lopez was watching me, a small smile beginning to form on her lips. The truth is that during my illness, one person gave everything, their savings, their career, their daily life, to ensure I received the care I needed. One person slept on my bedroom floor, held my hand through pain, and faced every terrifying doctor's appointment by my side. I felt a strange lightness spreading through my chest, like taking the first deep breath after being underwater too long. One person emptied their retirement account to pay for my treatments when insurance wasn't enough. One person bathed me when I couldn't bathe myself, fed me when I couldn't hold a fork, and maintained my dignity when illness tried to strip it away. Tears pricked at my eyes. She had noticed. All those moments when I thought she was too ill or too medicated to be fully aware. She had seen everything. That person was not who many of you might expect, or who I myself expected before experiencing the reality of serious illness. Elaine's hand tightened on her tissue, crumpling it into a ball. Her knuckles were white. Therefore, I hereby revoke all previous distributions and declare that my entire estate, my home at 1472 Maple Street valued at approximately $450,000, my retirement accounts totaling $387,000, my personal savings of $124,000, and all personal possessions shall pass in their entirety to my son, James Richard Wilson. The silence in the room was absolute. Then came the flutter of turning pages as Mr. Winters continued reading. To my daughter Elaine, I leave my wedding ring and my sincere hope that you will learn what I learned too late, that true family is measured by actions, not words or intentions. James earned this inheritance not by relation, but by demonstration of unconditional love and sacrifice. Elaine made a small choking sound. Tom's face had darkened to an alarming shade of red. To my brother Robert and sister-in-law Patricia, I leave my gratitude for our shared childhood memories, but also my disappointment in your absence during my greatest need. May you never require the kind of care that you failed to provide. Uncle Robert shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Aunt Patricia suddenly seemed very interested in her manicure. To Martha Lopez, my faithful neighbor and friend who brought food every week and checked on both me and James regularly, I leave my pearl necklace that you always admired, along with $50,000 in appreciation of true friendship that stands the test of time and hardship. Mrs. Lopez gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Her eyes met mine across the table, filled with tears but also vindication. James, Mr. Winters read, now looking directly at me. You emptied your accounts to save my life, gave up your apartment, your job, and your freedom to care for me. More importantly, you gave me dignity in my most vulnerable moments. This inheritance isn't charity. It's barely adequate repayment for what you've already given. I only wish I could see your face when you realize that I noticed everything. I love you, my quiet, steadfast son. I always have, even when I didn't show it enough. Tears welled in my eyes, impossible to hold back. Not for the money though God knew I needed it after emptying my accounts for Mom's treatment, but for the recognition, for knowing that Mom had seen my sacrifice and understood its depth. In those long nights when pain kept me awake, you thought I didn't see you sleeping on that hard floor beside my bed, ready to help at the first sign of distress. I saw you. When you thought I was asleep, and you quietly paid my bills online, using your own accounts, I knew what you were doing. When you turned down the promotion you'd worked years for because it would have required traveling during my treatments, I heard that phone call, though you took it in the garden to spare me the knowledge of your sacrifice. I remembered that call, standing among Mom's beloved rose bushes, explaining to my boss why I couldn't accept the position I'd been working toward for 5 years. I'd thought Mom was napping. She'd heard everything. To everyone else present, Mr. Winters continued, let this be a lesson about true family loyalty. In crisis, we discover who people really are. Some make excuses, others make sacrifices. Choose carefully who you count on when your time of need arrives. Mr. Winters looked up from the document, removing his reading glasses. That concludes the addendum. There are specific details regarding the transfer of assets that we'll need to discuss, but those can wait for a separate meeting with James alone. For a moment, no one moved. Then Elaine stood abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the hardwood floor. This is ridiculous, she said, her voice shrill. I called Mom every day, every single day. I couldn't be there physically because of my children, but I was there emotionally. She must have been confused or manipulated. She looked directly at me, her eyes flashing with accusation. What did you say to her? What did you do to make her change her will? Before I could respond, Mrs. Lopez spoke up. I was there, Elaine. I saw who visited and who didn't. I brought food every week and James was always there. Always. I can count on one hand the number of times I saw you in that house during your mother's illness. I have 3 children, Elaine protested. I couldn't expose them to their grandmother? Mrs. Lopez interrupted, her normally gentle voice firm. To the reality of family taking care of family? What a valuable lesson they've missed. Tom stood now too, putting his arm around Elaine. We'll be contesting this will, he announced to the room at large. Clearly, Margaret was not of sound mind when she made these changes. No mother would disinherit her daughter, especially not in favor of, he gestured dismissively at me, the spare child. The spare child. Is that how they had always seen me? The backup, the afterthought, the less important one. Mr. Winters cleared his throat. You're welcome to contest the will, of course. However, I should inform you that Margaret anticipated this reaction. She underwent a comprehensive mental health evaluation the same day this addendum was signed, specifically to document her mental competence. The evaluation was conducted by 2 independent psychiatrists, both of whom provided sworn affidavits that are filed with this will. Additionally, the signing was videotaped, with Margaret explicitly stating her reasons for the changes and confirming that she was under no duress or undue influence. He looked at Tom and Elaine over the top of his glasses. In my 40 years of practice, I have never seen a will more carefully protected against contestation. Margaret was quite determined that her final wishes be respected, regardless of any disagreement. Elaine stormed out of the conference room, Tom following close behind. The heavy wooden door slammed behind them, sending a shudder through the quiet law office. For a moment, no one spoke. Uncle Robert and Aunt Patricia exchanged uncomfortable glances, clearly torn between following Elaine and staying to save face. Well, Aunt Patricia finally said, rising from her seat. This has been illuminating. James, She fumbled for words, then simply nodded and hurried out, Uncle Robert trailing behind. Mr. Winters began gathering his papers. Mrs. Bennet, Mrs. Clark, thank you for coming. If you could give James and Mrs. Lopez a moment, my assistant will show you out and provide the items Margaret left for you. After they left, only Mrs. Lopez, Mr. Winters, and I remained in the room. Mrs. Lopez moved to the chair beside me, taking my hand in hers. "Your mother saw everything, mijo," she said softly. "Every sacrifice, every moment of care. She told me how proud she was of you." "When?" I asked, my voice hoarse. "When did she tell you this?" "The day before her stroke. I visited while you were at the pharmacy. She showed me the addendum she had made to her will. She was worried Elaine would make trouble for you, but she was determined that you would be properly acknowledged." Mr. Winters cleared his throat. "James, there's more. Your mother left a private letter for you." He handed me an envelope with my name written in Mom's elegant handwriting. "I'll give you some privacy," he said, standing. "Mrs. Lopez, perhaps you'd join me for coffee while James reads this?" After they left, I sat alone in the conference room, turning the envelope over in my hands. Finally, I opened it carefully, preserving her handwriting as if it were a precious artifact. "My dearest James," the letter began. "If you're reading this, then Mr. Winters has done as I asked and read my true final wishes. I hope you're sitting down, because knowing you, you're in shock right now." I smiled through my tears. She knew me so well. I want to explain why I originally wrote that first will, leaving everything to Elaine. For years, I believed the story she told me. That she called daily when you weren't around. That she contributed financially to my care through direct deposits. That her absence was due to protecting the children while still supporting me in ways you couldn't see. I believed her because I wanted to. Because it was easier than accepting that my daughter could be so absent when I needed her most. The truth revealed itself slowly. One night, I woke to find you sleeping on the floor beside my bed, your back against the wall, ready to help if I called out. You'd been working all day, cooking, cleaning, managing my medications, and still, you wouldn't leave me alone. That same week, I overheard Elaine telling her friend on the phone that she was stuck visiting Mom this weekend, when she hadn't visited in over a month. Then came the financial revelation. While looking for an insurance document, I found your bank statements that you'd tucked inside my desk drawer. I saw the withdrawals, your entire 401k, your savings, even cash advances on your credit cards. The same day, I checked my own accounts and found no deposits from Elaine, despite her claims of financial support. The final moment of clarity came when you turned down that promotion you'd worked so hard for. I wasn't asleep as you thought. I heard every word of that call from the garden. You sacrificed your career advancement without hesitation or complaint, never once mentioning it to me or making me feel like a burden. So I called Mr. Winters and changed everything. Because you deserve it, James. Not just the material possessions, but the recognition of your character. You are the best of your father and me, our quiet, steady, selfless son who shows love through actions rather than words. I know Elaine will be angry. She may never forgive you, though you've done nothing wrong. That burden is on me, and I accept it even in death. I hope someday she'll understand the lesson I'm trying to teach her about true family loyalty. Use this inheritance to rebuild the life you put on hold for me. Go back to school if you want, travel, buy a home, whatever brings you joy. You've earned that and more. All my love, always and forever, Mom. I clutched the letter to my chest, overwhelmed by the wave of emotions crashing through me. Validation, relief, grief, and a profound sense of being truly seen, perhaps for the first time in my life. When Mrs. Lopez returned, she found me still sitting there, tears streaming down my face. She knew, was all I could say. She really knew. Of course she did, Mrs. Lopez replied, sitting beside me again. Mothers always know, even when they don't say it. Mr. Winters returned with a folder of documents. There will be paperwork to sign, accounts to transfer. The house is already in your name. Margaret took care of that before her stroke, but we can handle those details next week. For now, take some time to process everything. Outside the law office, the day had turned sunny, the clouds dispersing as if reflecting the clearing of truth in my own life. As I walked to my car, I spotted Elaine and Tom still in the parking lot, arguing beside their SUV. They fell silent as I approached. "Elaine," I said, stopping a few feet away. "I'm sorry it happened this way." Her eyes were cold. "You manipulated her, turned her against me when she was vulnerable. I never said a word against you to Mom. Never." She saw what happened herself. "This isn't over," Tom interjected, stepping forward. "We'll contest this. You won't get away with stealing Elaine's inheritance." I thought about Mom's letter, about the measures she had taken to prevent exactly this scenario. "It's not about the money, Tom. It never was, for either of us." "Easy to say when you've got all of it," Elaine snapped. "I spent over $100,000 of my own money on Mom's care," I replied quietly. "Where was your contribution? Where were you when she couldn't dress herself? When she was vomiting from chemo? When she cried from pain at 3 a.m? Elaine flinched. For just a moment, I saw something like shame cross her face, but it vanished quickly. I had responsibilities. Children. A life. So did I. I gave mine up temporarily because Mom needed me. That was my choice, and I'd make it again. "Well, she certainly paid you back, didn't she?" Tom said bitterly. "Quite the return on investment." The crude reduction of my care for Mom to a financial transaction was the final straw. "This conversation is over," I said, turning away. "Mr. Winters has my contact information if you need it for legal purposes." As I walked away, Elaine called after me. "She was my mother too, James. You didn't have the right to take her from me." I stopped, but didn't turn around. "I never took her from you, Elaine. You just never showed up to claim her." Over the next week, I stayed at Mom's house, my house now, sorting through her belongings. Each object held memories. The cookie jar she always kept filled with my favorite chocolate chips, the reading glasses she was forever misplacing, the photo albums meticulously organized by year. Mrs. Lopez brought dinner every evening, sitting with me as I shared stories about Mom, about our time together during her illness. It was healing to speak the memories aloud, to have them witnessed by someone who understood. "What will you do with the house?" she asked one evening as we sat on the back porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. "I'm not sure yet," I admitted. "It feels wrong to sell it, but also wrong to let it sit empty." "Whatever you decide, Margaret would approve," she assured me. She trusted you completely. The following day, I received a formal letter from Elaine's attorney, notifying me of their intent to contest the will. Despite Mr. Winters' warnings about the futility of such an attempt, they were proceeding, claiming undue influence and diminished capacity. I called Mr. Winters immediately. "They're really doing it," I said, my voice tight with frustration. "After everything Mom did to prevent this exact situation." "Let them try," he replied calmly. "The documentation is impeccable. This is merely a tantrum, not a legitimate legal challenge. But it will drag out the process, cost money in legal fees." "Margaret anticipated this as well," he assured me. "The estate includes a specific provision for legal defense of her wishes. This won't cost you personally." Even in death, Mom was still protecting me. That evening, as I sorted through papers in Dad's old office, I found a small leather journal tucked behind some books. It was Mom's handwriting, dated from the beginning of her illness. She had kept a diary throughout her treatment. I hesitated, feeling like I was invading her privacy. But something told me she would want me to read it. The first entry was from the day of her diagnosis. "The cancer is stage 3. I've told the children. James dropped everything immediately, said he's coming over. Elaine is already here, but I can see the calculations behind her eyes. She's thinking about money, about how this will affect her plans. I shouldn't judge her. She has responsibilities I don't fully understand. But I noticed. The journal became my evening ritual over the following weeks. Each night, I'd read a few entries, connecting with Mom's private thoughts, understanding her journey from her perspective. Her observations were sharp, honest, sometimes painful to read. Day 43 of treatment. James sleeps on my floor again tonight. He thinks I don't know how much his back hurts from it, but I see him wincing when he stands. He refused the guest room again, worried he wouldn't hear me if I needed something. Elaine called today, spoke to James. She had another excuse for not visiting. I pretend to believe it for his sake. Day 67. Found the credit card statements James tried to hide. He's maxed out everything. I tried to talk to him about it, but he changed the subject. How will he ever recover financially from this? This is not what a mother should cost her child. Reading these entries, I understood why Mom had made her decision. It wasn't just about rewarding me or punishing Elaine. It was about justice, about setting the record straight in the only way she had left. 1 month after the will reading, Mr. Winters called with news. The judge has dismissed their challenge before it even reached a hearing, he reported. The documentation was too thorough, the evidence of your mother's competence too compelling. It's over, James. The estate is officially yours without contest. I should have felt relief, but mostly I felt sadness. Elaine's determination to fight Mom's wishes had only confirmed the character assessment that had led to Mom's decision in the first place. That evening, my doorbell rang unexpectedly. When I opened the door, I found Elaine standing alone on the porch, her expression uncharacteristically vulnerable. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. I hesitated, then stepped aside. She walked into the living room, looking around as if seeing it for the first time, though she'd grown up in this house just as I had. "They dismissed our case," she said, sitting stiffly on the edge of the sofa. "Tom wanted to appeal, but I told him no." I sat across from her, waiting. "Mrs. Lopez came to see me yesterday," she continued, surprising me. "She brought me Mom's diary, just a few pages that she thought I should read. So that's where the journal had disappeared to. I'd been looking for it, worried I'd misplaced it." "Mom saw everything," Elaine said, her voice catching. "She knew I wasn't calling daily. She knew I lied about sending money. Tears spilled over. She knew I abandoned her when she needed me most. For the first time since we were children, I saw my sister without her carefully constructed facade. The pain on her face was raw, genuine. "Why did you lie to her?" I asked, not accusingly but with real curiosity. "I didn't want to disappoint her," Elaine admitted. "At first, I really did intend to help, to visit regularly, to contribute financially. But then life kept happening. The kids' activities, Tom's business problems, social obligations. Each time I canceled a visit, I'd promised to make it up next time. The lies just compounded." She wiped her eyes. "It was easier to pretend I was doing my part than to admit I was failing her, and I assumed you were handling everything fine. You always do." "Not because it was easy," I said quietly. "Because it was necessary." "I know that now." She looked around the living room, at the photos of our family through the years. "I missed her final months. I missed the opportunity to really know her at the end. That's a punishment far worse than any inheritance." We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of truth between us. "What will you do with the house?" she finally asked. "I've been thinking about that," I replied. "It's too big for just me. I was considering selling it, using the money to pay off the medical debts and start over." Elaine nodded, looking down at her hands. "That makes sense. But yesterday I had another idea," I continued. "The downstairs could be converted into a small apartment. The main floor has everything needed: bedroom, bath, kitchen. the upstairs could remain separate. She looked up, confused. "You're thinking of becoming a landlord?" "I'm thinking about Mrs. Garcia down the street. Her husband died last year. She's all alone in that big house, struggling to maintain it. And the Johnsons, who lost their home in the fire last month. There are people in our community who need help." "You want to offer housing to people in need?" Elaine's brow furrowed. "Temporarily, a transitional space where they can stabilize before moving on. Mom would have liked that idea, I think. Using her home to help others the way she always wanted to but couldn't after Dad died." For the first time in our adult lives, I saw genuine admiration in Elaine's eyes. "You really are the best of them, aren't you? The best of Mom and Dad." I shook my head. "I just did what needed doing, like Mom taught us." Elaine stood, walking to the mantel where photos of our family stood in silver frames. She picked up one of all four of us, Mom, Dad, Elaine, and me at the beach, years ago. "I'm sorry, James, for leaving it all to you, for not being there, for fighting you after her death." "I know," I said simply, because there was nothing else to say. "I'd like to help," she said suddenly, turning to face me. "With your idea for the house. I can't contribute financially right now, but I could help with planning, organizing, maybe some of the renovation work." It was an olive branch, small but significant. "I'd like that," I replied, and I meant it. As I walked her to the door, Elaine paused. "There's one more thing. Mom's pearl necklace, the one she wore to every special occasion. I always assumed it would be mine someday. Here it was. The real reason for her visit, I thought cynically. She was still after Mom's possessions. In the addendum, she left it to Mrs. Lopez, I reminded her gently. "I know," Elaine nodded, "and she deserves it. But Mrs. Lopez came to see me yesterday not just to show me the diary, but to give me the necklace." She reached into her purse and pulled out a small velvet box, opening it to reveal Mom's double strand of pearls. She said Mom would want us to heal our relationship more than she'd want her to have this necklace. She refused to take no for an answer. Elaine's voice broke. That kind of generosity. It made me see what I've been missing, how I've been living. I thought about Mrs. Lopez, who had shown more true family spirit than many blood relatives. "Mrs. Lopez is right," I said. "Mom would want us to find a way forward." "Can we?" Elaine asked, vulnerability naked in her voice. "Find a way forward?" I looked at my sister, flawed, human, finally honest, and thought about Mom's journey to understanding and forgiveness. "Yes," I said. "I think we can, one day at a time." After she left, I sat on the porch swing where Mom used to sit in the evenings, watching the neighborhood children play. The same swing where she'd told me she updated her will, a change that had seemed like a footnote at the time, but had transformed into her final, most powerful message. I looked at the house, my house now, and thought about its future as a place of healing and transition for others in need. It felt right, a fitting tribute to the woman who had taught me, through both words and silence, what true family means. Mom had paid the ultimate price to learn what really matters. Her final gift wasn't the house or the money. It was the clarity that comes from seeing people's true character revealed under pressure. She had passed that wisdom on to me, and perhaps now to Elaine as well. As the evening light faded, I could almost feel Mom's presence beside me on the swing, her hand on mine, her voice in my heart. "You'll be all right now, James. You always were the strong one." For the first time since her passing, I believed it. I would be all right. And in time, perhaps our family would be too. Not the family we pretended to be, but the authentic, imperfect family we actually were. That, I realized, was Mom's true legacy. The courage to see truth clearly and still choose love, Still choose growth. Still choose the harder, better path forward. I whispered into the gathering darkness. I noticed everything too, Mom, and I won't forget.